All right, so we're diving into some pretty interesting stuff today.
Yeah.
You send over this collection of articles and theories about March Madness,
Hmm.
and there seems to be this recurring question about whether it's all rigged.
Right.
And we see everything here from like those crazy upsets that just make your jaw drop to, those rumors swirling around about TV networks calling the shots behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So our mission here is to kind of wade through all of these theories and the controversies that they spark and not get lost in, the wild speculation, but to really try to understand what the core arguments are here.
Right.
What are people actually saying and see what makes sense,
Yeah, I think it's fascinating how this conversation seems to come up like every single year.
Yeah.
It's like this annual ritual almost.
It is. It is.
The drama and the unpredictability of the tournament just seems to make people look for these deeper explanations.
Right.
Especially when things happen that seem to defy all logic.
Well, yeah, I mean, to really grasp why this even becomes a question, just think about those moments, those buzzer beaters.
Oh, yeah.
Those tiny underdog teams that take down these giants.
Right.
It's the kind of stuff that makes you jump out of your seat. But then, a split second later, you kind of squint and go, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Yeah. Did that really just happen?
And the material that you've shared really highlights these points of tension.
Yeah.
Those referee calls that just feel a little questionable.
Hmm.
Those Cinderella stories where a team that nobody's ever heard of just comes out of nowhere and dominates.
Right.
And the bracket busting upsets that just blow everybody's predictions to smithereens.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, these are the moments that really get that rigged conversation going.
I mean, just look at the raw numbers. Like
Yeah.
when UMBC beat Virginia back in 2018.
Oh, yeah, that was incredible.
It's the first time a 16 seed ever beat a 1 seed.
Unbelievable.
The odds against that happening were just astronomical.
Like, it shouldn't have happened statistically.
Oh, exactly. And it's these kinds of statistical anomalies
Right.
that really stick in people's minds.
Yeah.
And make them question what's really going on behind the scenes.
Well, and it's that kind of outcome where it feels like it was almost scripted for maximum shock value,
It's almost too good to be true.
Yeah, and then you layer on top of that those moments where it's a crucial game and the ref makes a call in the final seconds and
Right.
it just completely changes the momentum and decides the outcome.
Yeah, yeah. Those are the plays that get replayed over and over and over again,
Endlessly, yeah.
dissected from every angle.
Yeah.
And they just add fuel to that fire.
Right, they really do.
Making people wonder if it's just human error or if there's something more deliberate at play.
If it's more than meets the eye.
Right, exactly.
And then you've got the whole Cinderella story narrative.
Which is so compelling,
Of course, we all love to root for the underdog.
We do.
And see them overcome the odds.
Yeah, but the material you've sent also touches on the question of, do these unexpected runs by these lower ranked teams happen a little too often?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Like, is it suspicious?
Yeah. Is there a frequency there that seems kind of convenient?
Right, like maybe it's good for TV ratings.
Yeah.
Or maybe it just helps create these great storylines that everyone talks about.
Right. And that leads us right into the specific conspiracy theories that people actually put forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the material you've given me really kind of clusters around a few key ideas.
Yeah.
First, you've got this idea that TV networks with all their money invested in broadcasting rights
Right.
might be subtly, influencing things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not fixing games outright.
Right.
But maybe, influencing the schedule, or even some people speculate, affecting the outcomes of games.
Yeah. Then there's that suspicion around the statistically improbable upsets.
Mm-hmm.
Are they just part of the magic of the tournament, the beauty of unpredictability, or is there something else going on there?
Right, something more intentional.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget about the lightning rod of controversial referee decisions.
Oh, those are always a hot topic.
Those missed calls, phantom fouls, technical fouls at just the right moment.
Yeah, the momentum shifters.
Yeah, that can really swing a game.
Absolutely.
And leave fans feeling like something's not quite right.
Like they've been robbed.
So if we zoom out a little bit,
Okay.
I mean the financial ecosystem of college sports is huge.
It's massive.
And the revenue generated by March Madness is a big part of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars.
Yeah. Major networks pour billions into securing the rights to broadcast these games.
Right. And with those kinds of financial stakes,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost inevitable that questions are going to come up about whether there's any pressure, even if it's unspoken, to ensure that the most captivating and the highest rated matchups happen.
Yeah, it just makes sense intuitively, right?
Right.
A nail-biting finish between two, big name programs
Hmm.
is going to draw way more viewers than a lopsided game between two smaller, less familiar schools.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch a blowout.
Exactly. So the theory goes that maybe there's a little nudge here, a little nudge there,
A little influence.
to encourage those higher stakes, more dramatic scenarios.
Yeah, to keep people glued to their screens.
And now when we look at those statistically improbable upsets,
Yeah.
it is important to remember just how many games are played in the tournament every year.
Right. There are a ton of games.
So even events that have a very low probability of happening individually are bound to occur eventually.
Statistically. Yeah.
When you have that many independent trials,
Exactly. It's like flipping a coin.
Right.
If you flip it enough times, you're going to get a streak of heads eventually.
Yeah, but our brains aren't always great at processing those kinds of statistical realities.
Especially when those unlikely events create these fantastic stories.
Yeah, right?
We tend to look for a cause or a reason beyond just pure chance.
We want to believe there's a story there.
We want to make sense of it.
And those referee calls, oh man.
Oh yeah, they're under a microscope.
I mean, they're scrutinized in every sport, but in that winner-take-all environment of March Madness where one loss and you're done,
It's so intense.
a perceived bad call takes on just this enormous significance.
And feel like life or death.
Yeah, and that heightened impact definitely fuels the suspicion,
Yeah.
Some people suggest that officials might have, inherent biases, even unconscious ones, or maybe they're even subject to external pressures.
Right, like maybe somebody's got their thumb on the scale.
And that brings up a really crucial point about the difference between perception and reality.
Oh, absolutely.
What a fan sees as, a blatant game-changing bad call might genuinely just be an error.
Right, a mistake made in a split second under immense pressure.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are human.
They are, and those games are fast.
So separating genuine mistakes from potential manipulation is a really complex challenge.
It's really tough.
And often that's what fuels the whole debate.
Exactly.
So let's shift gears a little bit and,
Yeah.
and think about how experts approach these theories. Are these just, passionate outpourings from fans?
Yeah, they just blowing off steam?
Or is there actually some substance to these claims when you analyze them more rigorously?
Right.
And what about the broader history of sports?
Yeah.
Are there scandals from the past that might give some weight to these ideas about March Madness?
Huh.
Or are these concerns largely unfounded?
Well, one thing that's pretty telling is that despite all the fan speculation,
Yeah.
hard, verifiable evidence of widespread systematic rigging in March Madness is really hard to come by. Investigative journalists and sports analysts often point to the logistical nightmare of trying to orchestrate that kind of large-scale manipulation.
Yeah.
You'd have to involve so many different teams and players and coaches and officials.
Yeah, across all these different games, it would be
It would be a massive undertaking.
almost impossible to keep it all under wraps.
Right. It would require an extraordinary level of coordination and secrecy.
That's a really key point. I mean, it's not like we're talking about one or two individuals here.
Right.
This would have to be a massive coordinated effort to consistently influence outcomes across the whole tournament.
Exactly. It would be like a conspiracy on a grand scale.
And when we look at historical sports scandals,
Yeah.
the material you sent mentioned the NBA referee Tim Donaghy.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
That situation definitely eroded public trust in officiating.
For sure.
But it's crucial to remember that it involved individual corruption,
Right.
not a systemic manipulation of entire league outcomes.
It was one rogue referee.
Right? Those kinds of incidents, while they're damaging, don't necessarily provide a direct parallel to the kind of widespread tournament rigging that some of these March Madness theories are suggesting.
It's a different beast altogether.
Yeah, so it sounds like the general consensus among experts is that while the conditions are ripe for suspicion, you've got the high stakes, the dramatic moments, the financial incentives.
The pressure is definitely there.
The actual evidence to support widespread rigging just isn't there.
Yeah, that seems to be the prevailing view among those who've really studied it.
So the passion of the fans, the unpredictability of single elimination basketball,
Right.
and those occasional dramatic upsets all kind of come
And
together.
create this perfect storm.
Yeah, to allow these theories to flourish, but concrete proof is still lacking.
It's more about perception than hard evidence.
So let's bring this back to you listening at home.
Yeah.
Think about all the stuff we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What parts of this puzzle are most compelling to you? What makes you personally wonder if there might be more to these stories than just chance?
Right.
Well, we're not here to give you a definitive yes or no on whether March Madness is rigged,
It's not about black and white answer.
but to really dive into those arguments,
Yeah.
understand the controversies, and hopefully give you a more informed perspective on this ongoing debate in the world of sports.
It's about critical thinking.
So what stands out to you as a listener?
Yeah.
Is there a particular controversial call that you just can't shake, or
Yeah.
an underdog victory that seemed almost too perfect?
Yeah, like it was scripted.
Or maybe it's the undeniable influence of television revenue in college athletics
That's a big one.
that makes you question,
Yeah.
the absolute purity of the competition.
Yeah. Is it really all about the love of the game?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's often the combination of factors. It's
Yeah.
when you have, a truly unbelievable upset happening at a moment that seems to generate maximum buzz,
Right when the stakes are highest.
combined with a few very close games that are decided by what seem to be questionable calls.
It's like all the ingredients for a conspiracy theory are right there.
Yeah, even if, like, the experts say the hard evidence is missing.
Exactly. The narrative itself becomes so powerful,
Yeah,
even without definitive proof.
it's a good story.
It's a great story.
So to bring it all together, what does it mean when we look at these dramatic upsets?
Yeah.
The theories about TV influence and statistical anomalies,
Right.
the impact of those controversial calls, and even the backdrop of past sports scandals. What's fascinating is how these individual elements can come together to create this narrative in the public consciousness,
Right.
even if concrete, irrefutable proof is elusive.
It's the power of storytelling.
So this raises a really important question for you to think about.
Okay.
After weighing all these different angles and,
Yeah.
and recognizing the intense scrutiny that March Madness faces,
Right.
what resonates most strongly with you? Is it the inherent unpredictability of the tournament that naturally leads to these kinds of theories?
Right. Could it just be random chance?
Or are there specific incidents or patterns that give you genuine pause and make you wonder if there's something more beneath the surface?
If there's a puppet master pulling the strings.
We've seen how powerful those, too good to be true moments can be
Yeah.
in sparking suspicion.
They really get people talking.
And how the immense stakes and the passionate fan base just amplify the impact of every controversial decision and every unexpected outcome.
It's a pressure cooker.
So whether you ultimately land on the side of, a grand conspiracy or attribute it all to the delightful chaos of the tournament,
Yeah.
gaining a deeper understanding of these underlying questions definitely adds another layer to how you experience March Madness.
It makes you think about the game in a whole new way.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
When you think about how sports and media are constantly evolving,
And how closely they're intertwined.
they're practically inseparable these days.
The questions that we've explored today about potential influence and the true nature of fairness,
Yeah.
those aren't going away anytime soon.
I think they're more relevant than ever.
They're going to remain relevant, not just for March Madness,
Right.
but for the wider world of competitive sports.
It makes you wonder about all the unseen forces that might be at play
It really does.
in so many of the events that we watch.
Yeah.
And the narratives that take hold in the public imagination.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to keep in mind as you continue to follow the action.
Food for thought.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But as always, this was a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it was a good one.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a different topic.
Until next time.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.